Okay, so before we begin, I just want to give you a heads up that you're going to need a couple things from home. You might want to have a pencil if you want to try to do like a poor man's carbon copy of the tree, or if you wanted to sketch the tree before you actually start painting. So a pencil is a good idea to have. Obviously some paper towels. And in order to rinse your brushes off, a little bit of water. So I just keep water in my old Vita water bottle. So in your kit, you're obviously going to get a canvas, and then you're going to get one of the sets of paints, and then just a printed copy of the DNA tree. This is, we're going to probably use this on the last step. So what I'm just going to do today, and I'm going to make sure it fully dries before I start putting the tree on, is I'm just going to do the background. And for the background, I have decided to just do a total kaleidoscope of different colors. If anybody who knows me, they know that I just love things that are very bright and very colorful. So I'm not actually going to open this today. I have a lot of leftover paints from other videos that I've done with you guys. I'm just going to use up these today and just put some really wild colors in the background. And then I'm just going to blend. And that's all I'm going to do today. And then I'm just going to let it dry. So for now, I am just going to start speeding up the video here in a second, and then we will stop it and then let it dry, and then I will show you how I'm going to use the paper to sort of make what is sort of like a carbon copy. It's like you take your pencil and you put a lot of the pencil graphite on the back, and then you flip it over, and then you trace what you want. And what it'll do is it'll push some of that the graphite onto your picture, so that you sort of have a rough outline of your tree, so that you don't have to try to do this by hand with black paint or brown paint or whatever paint you want to use for your tree, and then accidentally messing everything up. So this is sort of a good idea to do if you're like me and you're not that great of an artist, but you do like to paint. So this is definitely going to be one of your last steps. So set this aside and we'll use that later. Okay, and since I am at work and I have my nice work shirt on, I'm going to grab my painting shirt that I keep here, put it on over my work clothes so that I don't get paint on myself, because this is morning and I still got the whole rest of my day to be here, and I don't want to have paint all over me. Alright, so I'm just going to start. Oh, and another word to the wise, don't make mom or dad angry by painting without something under your canvas. If you can tell by my table, I have a lot of paint on this table from all of these paint videos that I've done with you guys. I can get away with that, but mom and dad might get a little upset if you get paint all over the kitchen table, so make sure you put something down while you're working. Now I am going kind of quickly through this, and you can see that some of the colors don't blend all that awesome. But you know, I'm really not going to worry about that because sometimes all of those non-awesome places are actually quite catching to the eye. So, you know, I might actually leave that messy. Because it's starting to grow on me a little bit. Okay, now this might look like a Jackson Pollock mess. And you know, to be honest, when I'm looking at it from a distance, I'm actually kind of liking these jagged areas that are going across here. So I'm actually going to leave it just like this. So we're going to let this dry. And then I'm going to come back in. Honestly, I'm going to actually have to let this dry for a long time because of my work schedule. So it's actually going to be quite a few days before I'm actually going to get back to this. So let this completely dry. Then we're going to do that carbon copy stencil type thing that I had mentioned earlier onto the paint. We're going to come back in with blacks and browns and do the kind of the DNA strand in blacks and browns. And I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do up here, because from where this thing's going to sit, it's going to be in a lot of this green. So if I make those leaves green, they might not show up so well. So what I might do is, since these branches that don't really have many leaves are actually going off into the yellows and the reds, whereas these ones with the leaves are going off into the greens, what I might end up doing is having leafy greens on this side and then maybe fall colored leaves on this side, so that you can really see the difference between the background colors. I probably should have rethought where I put that green, but that's okay. We're going to make this work. So let this thing dry completely before you go on to your next step. If you want to completely just slather this sucker with a lot of color, or just leave it white in the background and then put your tree on it and then go crazy color on the tree, that is totally an option as well. So let this sit. We are going to come back to this in a few days because my work schedule, and then we will finish this up. Okay, see you next time, guys. Okay guys, so it's been a few days. This is all nice and dry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start putting the tree on there. Now the tree might be a little intimidating, but there is sort of a trick that you can do to transfer this onto your board so that you have sort of an outline. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried this before. It actually works really well. Is that you take a pencil and you rub it on the back. So anywhere that there's a tree on this side, you want to make sure that the back is nice and covered with your graphite. So I'm going to put my canvas up there, and I'm going to just take my pencil and put a whole bunch of basically pencil guts onto the back of this page. And then what you're going to do is that once you have this covered, you can flip it over, put it on your canvas, and then you will trace the picture. And when you put a little bit of pressure down, what that's going to do is it's going to transfer some of the pencil here onto your canvas, so that you have sort of a, you know, kind of a rough estimate of where, you know, the shape of your tree and all that. Because I don't know if anybody has ever tried to draw a double helix, which is the shape of DNA. It's actually not easy. Double helixes suck. So I got something stuck to the table here, and it's screwing this up. So, okay. So this is where the double helix is on the paper. And then once I have this all finished, we're going to flip it over and then put it on the canvas, and then just using the pencil, trace it. So I've noticed that some of the tree up above, there's not enough pencil on it, so I'm going to keep going and just get as much pencil on here so that it will transfer onto the canvas. And because I can, I'm just going to put a little bit more up on the top. Okay, so that ought to have done it. So now I'm just going to take my canvas and I'm just going to lay this down about where I want the tree to be. Now try not to move this around too much. Now what you're going to do is you're going to basically trace the shape of the double helix, and that should put some graphite down onto your canvas, in theory. So I'm just going to start and at least get the double helix, and then maybe the branches up to about here. All of these branches I'm not going to trace, I'm just going to freehand those, and then maybe the little bits here of the roots. So I'm going to speed up the video now as I trace this. Now I'm not going to do all the little individual flowers and everything because I can just put those in myself. Okay. All right. Now, it might not look like much. I don't even know if you can see it. I'm going to zoom in really quick and see if you can actually see the marks. You can sort of see them. There's my pencil marks right there. So basically, for me, that's just a guideline. And now I'm going to very, very carefully and paying very close attention to my drawing, I am going to put in some fine black lines. And then I'm going to go back in with some brown. So once again, I'm going to speed up the video again. And I'm going to get one of the fine-tipped brushes and get some water and get out the black and start tracing that double helix. Now another trick is if your paintbrush isn't fine enough, you know, if you want to make those really nice fine lines, one thing you can do is once you've got your paint on, you can grab just like a paper towel and you can run it across and twist it at the same time, and what it does is it kind of gives you a nice sharp point on the paint brush. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see the actual painting, and I'm going to speed up the video again, and I'm just going to get all of the black lines put in. Okay, and hopefully my hands won't shake too terribly bad. think I'm going to start up here, right here. Looks like a good spot. Okay. Now this part's going to be a bit time consuming, so if you don't have any patience, this is where to learn patience. All right. All right, the first of many, many lines to draw. Okay, this little bit, another branch is in front, so we have to give a little gap right here, and then just keep going. Okay, so you can kind of see I've got a helix drawn. You can tell my hands are a little shaky. I hate doing fine lines. They are the worst. So I'm going to put in all of the cross pieces. And because these are sort of like gnarly branches, my shaky hands aren't going to be so bad. Okay, maybe, yeah. Always make sure you got that fine tip going on your paintbrush. If you press a little too hard like I tend to, you lose that fine tip. Okay. Alright, so there's my double helix as is. There's a few places here that sort of need to be darkened up a little bit more. Maybe where the paint was getting a little thin. And I'm just gonna put that there. Okay. And yeah, double helixes are a right pain in the rear. Now I did screw this up just a tiny bit, because I'm pretty sure. Yep, but it's easily fixed. So I'm just gonna fix it really quick. I forgot to put the little cross beam here. Well, it's sort of where the branch, this is kind of doubling back on itself. So you gotta put that in there. Okay. And yeah, that one is there. Oh, this one had one here, so I'm just gonna put in a little quick one right there. Okay. Now, it's not the best, but it'll do. Alright, so I think what I'm gonna do is the branch or the roots down here, and then maybe start working on the tree bit up on top. So I'm just gonna push this up so you can see what I'm doing with the roots. Okay. This is the worst part. Like, seriously, is totally the worst part. Okay, so I'm going to try not to screw this up because it's kind of looking neat. Okay. And if it's not exact, it doesn't have to be. Looks like we got another little wispy one coming off out here. And when you get to the end of the root, while you're moving your paintbrush, you can always just lift it off the paper or your canvas just a little bit, and you'll get a nice little bit of a tip there. And this is definitely needs to be a little bit more twisty gnarly, but that's okay. We'll make that twisty gnarly. Okay. Okay. Okay, so before I mess up this tree any further than I already have, I'm going to stop there with the branches up on the top. But you can kind of see, let me zoom out. I always go the wrong way. So there's my branches, and there's my double helix, and then my gnarly roots. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch, and I'm going to get the brown in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with heaven forbid, more black in order to make sort of some texture on this double helix and make it sort of look like wood. And so, yeah, I can never stop just messing with it, can I? Okay. Make sure you get your brush nice and clean. Get as much of the black off as you can. And if any of you guys have done tons and tons of these videos with me, because I've been doing them for a while now, you can always use your leftover paints. Always keep your brushes nice and clean after you're done. Don't leave the paint on them. They'll last. Because I keep using the same brushes, and whenever I have to open up a new thing of paints, I just put the brushes aside and just keep using the old ones so that I've got new brushes if I want them. Okay, so I've got only one shade of brown in all of this stuff. So it's just like it's just a light brown. And I'm going to just zoom in just a little so you can see sort of what I'm doing. And with the exception of obviously where it's just a black line, so any part here where it's a fairly good sized tree branch or whatnot, I'm just going to color it in with the brown. Alright, so I'm just going to start down here and then just start putting in this brown. And any part where your paintbrush got you know, too much paint on, you can always go back over it with the brown and make it kind of just clean it up a little. And I have a feeling I'm going to have to put 2 coats of brown on this in order to properly drown out the background colors that I put on last week. Okay, so there I got my first bit of brown. And this is going to be a long process as well, so I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video again. Now remember guys, I always say this in my videos somewhere, if a double helix you might think be a bit challenging, you know, you guys can paint whatever you like. I don't put these kits out and make you guys paint exactly what I do. You can do whatever you like with the materials that we give you. And, you know, just have fun. Art should be fun, not restrictive, you know. Definitely going to have to put more brown right there, because that change between the purple and the green in the background, you can really see it in that color. So definitely got to do another coat of brown. Okay, so I've got some brown on there. If I can show you. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna definitely go back over this again, especially in the areas where you can definitely see the difference in the backgrounds from where these colors tend to change. And I can also go back in with some more of the horrible black and make some details, put some little flowers. It looks like there's like some, there's even a hummingbird on here. Oh wow, a couple. And falling leaves, that sort of thing. Like there's like little ferns or something coming off the sides. I can always go back in with those details, but right now I just want to get that brown on there. And unfortunately, I'm kind of running out of time. So I've got a choice to make, is that either I don't publish the video until Tuesday when I come back to work next week, or stop the video a bit early and just sort of give you some advice on how to fix, or how to finish. So yeah, I got a lot of thinking to do on that one. So, because I'm sort of in a bind for time, I'm going to let some of this brown dry, and I'm going to come up here and sort of fake some green leaves up here in the area of the finer branches. And I've got this one brush, and I intentionally sort of made this brush really gnarly by pulling the bristles down. Because these kits don't come with a fan brush or anything like that, but doing this to an old brush is actually kind of a cheating way of putting leaves onto your pictures. So I just kind of make this brush a little gnarly, and I think I'm just going to dab it. So I'm going to zoom out just a little, and I always go the wrong way. There we go. And so I'm just going to put some green up in here while this brown dries, and I'm going to have to come back in with some more black and sort of make some details, because you want your bark in there, and your bark is, gnarly and twisty, so you got to get those in there. So I'm going to start up here and just start dabbing leaves on it. Now, if you get too much paint on your brush, you can always take your paper towel and get some of it off. That might have been a little too much there, but that is okay. So you see how it's sort of making sort of like almost like an impression of leaves, to be honest. And that's just what I'm doing, is I'm just tapping paint on. And that's how I'm going to end up doing my leaves. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just getting some green on here, and so that I don't have a big glob, I'm just sort of dabbing some of it off onto a paper towel. I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm just sort of dabbing some of it off so that I don't get huge globs like that little glob right there. And I'm just sort of going to be doing an outline of basically a tree shape right here. Okay. And I've got 2 shades of green, because I've actually got a couple different kinds of paint pots in here. So we've got 2 different kinds that we gave you guys. One is like the big kit that has the brush in it and all like the 10 or 12 different colors. And we have a paint pot that is just sort of the primary colors. That's one of those. So I've actually got 2 shades of green. And so I'm putting on some lighter green right now, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to throw in darker green. And I can even go in and even put some yellowish, orangey kind of leaves in there if I wanted to. Especially in this area where you've got like the green background. I wasn't thinking when I put that green there. Okay, so I'm going to grab some darker green, and I'm basically going to do that all over again. And just using the different shades of green, it just sort of gives your picture a little bit more depth. Ooh, this thing needs a good stir. Alright, so just some different green. Yeah, it's really not all that different. No, yeah, you can kind of see the difference. And over here, I'm just gonna go ahead and maybe get some, maybe some deadish leaves. Let's see, orange. Do I have any orange? Probably don't have any much. Oh, I do have some orange. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab a little and get it up here on my paper towel. And I'm not gonna do a lot, but I just want there to be a different color on some of these. Because right now that green background, which was a bad idea, you don't really see it very well, the leaves, because of the background. Just very lightly, I'm going to dab some on. we'll just say that the leaves were starting to change. Okay. Okay, I can live with that. And so you can see that. So I just threw a little bit of orange up in there. Okay, now I'm going to go back with some black and put some details into that bark. And we might call it an evening. So like, you know, the falling leaves and the little flowers coming off of it. And if you want to be so ambitious to put that tiny, tiny hummingbird in there, looks like there's a couple other birds. By all means, go ahead and give it a go. The only reason I'm not is I just don't, I'm running out of time. So I got to get this done for you guys so I can get it on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm just gonna doodle it really. And we're gonna just throw in some bark. And it doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason to it. I just don't think it would look good to have just like one solid brown branch. Okay. Okay, so normally this would be the part where I sign it and be finished. Again, you know, I'm kind of running out of time, but you sort of got the gist of how I did the double helix on here by using the graphite and then just basically pressing it onto the canvas. Sort of give me a guideline, because trust me, double helixes are a real pain. And put a little detailing into the bark, as you can see that. Usually I would sign it, but I think at a later date, on my own, I might just go back in and draw all those little bits that are coming off of that helix and the leaves falling, and you know, maybe I might even put in that hummingbird. But I am out of time so that I can get this to you on our YouTube channel. So there it is. Normally I would be signing it right now, but I'm going to wait till a later date to go ahead and put my initials on here. So I hope you had fun with this. I did as well, and obviously, as I said many times before, I am not a professional artist. So I just like to dabble. So there is my tree. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and finish this, to put anything on there that you want to do. And we'll see you next time for another paint night. Hopefully we can start having paint nights in person very soon. Okay, so I will call it a night. All right. Bye, guys.